In our society, people can be very cruel to those who are born poor or considered ugly. Today's story will leave us with a question that may stay in our minds for a long time. The 2025 South Korean mystery thriller movie The Ugly tells a story that strongly reflects the cruelty that can exist within society. The film is directed by Yoon Sang-ho, the director of the famous 2016 South Korean movie Train to Busan. It highlights how painful it can be when society labels someone as ugly. That is the theme presented in today's story, and I hope you will enjoy it. So hello friends, welcome to our story. A man who has been blind since birth. However, he has been blessed with an incredible talent. Using that talent, he has become a living icon in Korea. A craftsman named Young Yu, despite being blind, has won the admiration of people across the country. There are very few people who have not been impressed by his work. Even today, despite being blind, he creates beautifully crafted seals by hand, something that very few people in the modern age can replicate. Because of this remarkable skill, a journalist named Sujin has come to interview him. During the interview, Young Yu says that people like him, who cannot see, do not really know what physical beauty looks like. For them, their work itself becomes the measure of beauty. He explains that he truly loves his work. Sujin notices something and says that even after doing so much work, his hands are surprisingly smooth. Young Yu replies that for him, these two hands are his eyes. He says that he experiences the world through his hands. Sujin then asks about a mark on his hand. Young Yu explains that he was injured when he was younger. He also adds that when someone wants to learn a skill, they often have to go through difficult paths. Sujin then says that he raised his child alone, and it is surprising to think how, even without sight, he managed to raise him so well. She says it must not have been easy. Young Yu replies that even if a child is left on their own, they eventually grow up in their own way. However, he admits that it was not easy for him. Young Yu then asks his son Lim Dong to help him to his room because he wants to rest for a while. Lim Dong had been standing nearby and watching his father's interview. He gently takes his father to the room. Meanwhile, Sujin looks around at all of Young Yu's awards. With a smile, she tells Lim Dong that he must feel very proud to have such a living icon as his father. Lim Dong replies that he certainly does. After that, he shows Sujin a photograph of his father from his younger days and says that this is the only picture he has of him. Sujin says that Lim Dong looks very much like his father. Lim Dong replies that he once told his father the same thing. But at that moment, his father stayed silent for a while. Later, Lim Dong realized the reason. His father had never known what he himself looked like. After some time, Young Yu returns to his studio. Sujin takes several photographs of him for the interview. Once the interview ends, Lim Dong brings tea for his father, and the two begin talking. Together, they run their craft studio. Young Yu tells his son that sometimes he feels a little envious when he sees him. At Lim Dong's age, he himself had no money and no dreams. But even then, he always tried to make sure that his son never lacked anything. At that moment, Lim Dong receives a phone call from the police station. The call is about his mother. Hearing this, Lim Dong is completely shocked. He quickly goes to the police station. There, a detective shows him a body. When he looks at it, he realizes that it is only a skeleton. The detective explains that they believe the remains belong to his mother. The skeleton was discovered while construction workers were digging the ground for a development project at an apartment site. A doctor states that, based on the condition of the bones, it appears that the person passed away around 40 years ago. From the way the information was reported, it seems that the case may involve a suspicious death. Hearing all this, Lim Dong is stunned. The detective then hands him an identification card that belonged to his mother. However, the card does not contain her photograph. After receiving the news of her passing, Lim Dong holds a funeral for his mother. Sadly, he cannot place her picture there because he does not have a single photograph of her. Since childhood, Lim Dong believed that his mother had run away, leaving him and his father behind. He asks his father if his mother had really abandoned them. Young Yu replies that one day when he returned home, he saw that Lim Dong was alone in the house. His mother was not there, and after that day she never came back. Even their relatives never came looking for her. Lim Dong then asks if his mother had any enemies. Young Yu calmly replies that she was a good person. After some time, Sujin arrives at the funeral. Lim Dong goes to speak with her. Sujin offers her condolences and tells him that they are with him during this difficult time. Just then, two women approach Lim Dong to speak with him. Lim Dong could not recognize them. The two women introduced themselves and said that they were Lim Dong's aunts, meaning they were his mother's sisters. His mother's name was Yang Hee. At that moment, Young Yu also came over to speak with them. They explained that the police had contacted them as well. Lim Dong's cousin had also come there. The cousin said that their grandfather had left some property in the names of the aunt and their mother. However, they no longer wanted to share that property. He also mentioned that their aunt had left home at a very young age, so none of them had remained in contact with her. Lim Dong replied that he did not want any property. Even then, the cousin wanted to record his statement to be certain. Lim Dong told him that he would send a formal statement as soon as possible confirming that he had no claim to any part of the property. After that, Lim Dong asked his aunts if they had any photograph of his mother. But they replied that Yang Hee did not like taking pictures. According to them, the reason was that she did not consider herself good-looking. Hearing this, Lim Dong could not understand what they meant. He asked what they meant by that. He wondered if his mother had been abnormal or if she had any kind of disability. His aunts responded vaguely, saying that she had an unusual appearance. Lim Dong became upset and asked why they were speaking about his mother in such a way from the beginning. He asked what they had done when his mother left home. Did they not have any responsibility? He said that something bad could have happened to her. His aunts laughed and said that no one would do such a thing to someone like her. According to them, she had simply run away from home. Hearing all this, Lim Dong was deeply shocked. He stepped outside, and at that moment he overheard Sujin talking to her boss on the phone. Sujin was trying to convince her boss that if they covered the story about Young Yu's wife, the story could attract a large number of viewers. Her boss eventually gave her permission. Hearing this made Lim Dong feel uncomfortable, because it seemed like his mother's death was being treated like a business opportunity. The next day, Lim Dong, his father, his aunts, and his cousin all came to see the remains of Yang Hee's body. Lim Dong's aunts could not tolerate the unpleasant smell in the room. One of them hurried out, but while leaving, she accidentally pulled the bedsheet and tripped. As a result, the skeletal remains scattered across the floor. Seeing this behavior again made Lim Dong feel very irritated. After some time, Sujin called Lim Dong and told him that his mother had once worked at a garment factory. Some people from that factory knew quite a lot about her. She suggested that if he wanted to learn more about his mother, he should meet her the next day. The following day, Lim Dong came to meet Sujin. However, from a distance he noticed that Sujin was attaching a small hidden camera to her bag with the help of her cameraman. It appeared that she planned to record the interviews secretly in order to highlight the story about his mother. Sujin then took Lim Dong to a restaurant. 3 elderly men were waiting for them there. Sujin introduced herself as a journalist. Lim Dong, however, hid his real identity and said that he was a writer. Sujin explained that they were there to cover Yang Hee's story. She said that the police had recently discovered her remains and that the investigation suggested she had passed away about 40 years ago. One of the men said that they had thought she had run away with someone because one day she suddenly stopped coming to the factory. Sujin asked if they had been close to Yang Hee. All 3 of them laughed and replied that it was difficult to be close to someone like her. Sujin asked why and what kind of problem she had. One of the men then began telling Yang Hee's story. This was during a time when Korea was just beginning to recover after the war. All of them worked together in a garment factory. Yang Hee was not like everyone else. She seemed physically unstable, and people often judged her harshly because of her appearance. Because of that, very few people liked her. One day while working, Yang Hee asked the manager for permission to go to the restroom. The manager told her she had only 1 minute. When Yang Hee went toward the restroom, she saw a very long line of people waiting. At the same time, the manager had ordered her to return within a minute. Thinking about all this pressure, she returned to work without using the restroom. Later, unable to hold the pressure any longer, she had an accident with her clothes while working. After that incident, many workers began laughing at her and making fun of her. Lim Dong then asked if any of them had a photograph of her. They said they did not have any pictures of Yang Hee. However, they mentioned that while they were working at the factory owner had once taken photographs of all the workers. They also mentioned a woman named Jin Suk, who had apparently been very close to Yang Hee. After hearing this information, Sujin spoke with the men and asked her boss to find the owner of that factory. At that moment, Lim Dong tells Sujin that he can gather all the information about his mother himself, so she does not need to trouble herself anymore. Lim Dong does not want Sujin to treat his mother's life like a business story. However, Sujin explains that she is not doing this as a profession. She says she only wants to help Lim Dong. Lim Dong cannot say anything after that. At night, Sujin sends Lim Dong a text message saying that she has arranged a meeting with Jin Suk. The next day, the two of them go to meet Jin Suk. Jin Suk says that Yang Hee used to be her sewing assistant. Yang Hee was about 3 or 4 years senior to her. She describes Yang Hee as a very hard-working person. Then Sujin informs her that Yang Hee's remains have been discovered and that her death had occurred around 40 years ago. Hearing this, Jin Suk becomes visibly shaken. She then says that perhaps she also shares some responsibility for Yang Hee's death. After that, Jin Suk begins telling the story. One day, the factory owner behaved inappropriately toward her. She was completely devastated because she believed that no one would believe her. Everyone respected the owner greatly. During those difficult times, he had provided jobs to many people in the area and paid them on time. Many poor families depended on that factory for their daily meals. Because of this, no one would believe such an accusation against him. One day, when Yang Hee saw Jin Suk crying heavily, she asked what had happened. Jin Suk eventually told her everything. A few years later, Yang Hee married a blind craftsman. They had a son together. Yang Hee became even more hardworking in order to support her family. She worked tirelessly so that her child could have a better life. One day, Jin Suk suddenly stopped coming to the factory. The tailor became angry and told Yang Hee that he would remove Jin Suk and hire a new employee in her place. Soon after, he announced in front of everyone that starting the next day, a new employee would replace Jin Suk. Yang Hee became angry and went to talk to the owner. She confronted him and said that he knew very well why Jin Suk had stopped coming to work. She accused him of treating Jin Suk unfairly and said that hiring someone else in her place was wrong. She also warned that she would tell everyone what had happened. The owner, however, threatened Yang Hee and told her not to say anything to anyone. But Yang Hee did not stop there. The next day, when the owner came to the factory and tried to take photos of the female workers, many of them avoided him and walked away. People began looking at him in a strange way, which made him confused. Then he noticed some papers lying on the floor. Written on those papers was an accusation that the garment factory owner, Ju Sang, had behaved inappropriately toward female workers. The owner immediately realized that this must have been Yang Hee's doing. He became extremely angry. In his rage, he ordered the manager to remove from the factory any girls who had spoken against him. When the manager arrived, he saw that Yang Hee was still working there. He angrily told her that she had disrespected their boss and still had the nerve to work in the factory. He ordered her to leave immediately. Yang Hee replied that she had done nothing wrong. She also questioned why they were planning to remove Jin Suk from the factory. The manager insisted that he would never allow her to work there again. Yang Hee argued that they were acting unfairly and said that she would speak directly with the owner. As she tried to approach the owner, Jin Suk suddenly arrived at the factory and in front of everyone slapped her. Jin Suk explains that she had been terrified. She feared that if people discovered the truth, society would not care about what had actually happened. Instead, people would only judge her and she would not be able to face anyone in the community. Yang Hee had tried to help her, but Jin Suk admits that she did not have the courage to fight back. Jin Suk continues, saying that her biggest mistake was staying silent instead of demanding justice for the owner's wrongdoing. She says that if the owner had been responsible for Yang Hee's death, then she also carried part of the blame. Because of her, Yang Hee had become involved in a conflict with the owner. After hearing Yang Hee's story, Sujin becomes emotional. She says that Yang Hee had done nothing wrong, yet she had to endure so much. Sujin then asks Lim Dong whether he does not feel pain for his mother. She says that Ju Sang should face consequences for his actions. Lim Dong remains silent. He cannot understand whether Sujin's tears are genuine or if she is simply acting. And if her emotions are real, he wonders why she wants to bring such a case in front of everyone, possibly turning it into a public story. Thinking about all of this, he chooses to stay quiet. After that, Sujin takes Lim Dong to the house of the factory owner, Ju Sang. By this time, the owner is extremely old and in very poor condition. Inside the room, Lim Dong notices that there are many photographs of women. Seeing that the boss becomes angry at first. To calm him down, Sujin hands him some money in an attempt to impress him. After receiving the money, he relaxes. Sujin then asks if he remembers Yang Hee, who used to work at his factory. She says she has come to learn about the last days of Yang Hee at the factory. She also adds that the statute of limitations for the case has already passed, so even if he tells the truth now, it will not cause any legal problems. The boss replies, "Who would want to talk about that ugly woman?" Hearing his mother being described like that in front of everyone hurts Lim Dong deeply. Then Jusang says, "What? Didn't the police arrest the person who ended Yang He's life?" Sujin is shocked and asks, "Yang He was killed?" The boss replies that she was, and that the one responsible was her own husband, the blind craftsman. Lim Dong is stunned and falls silent. The boss continues, saying that Yang He had been very brave. One day when they were spending time at a club, they had invited Yang Wu there. As soon as Yang Wu arrived, he showed them his talent. Everyone was impressed by his craftsmanship. After that, the boss offered him a drink. Once he had a few drinks, the boss told him that Yang He had been causing trouble at the factory and that her actions were damaging his reputation. While saying this, he poured beer over Yang Wu's head. Yang Wu, feeling helpless, folded his hands and apologized repeatedly. He promised that he would explain everything to his wife and that there would be no more problems because of her. However, Yang He did not stop. The next day, the boss hired some men and sent them to teach Yang He a lesson. Those men beat her in front of her husband. Yang Wu tried to protest, but because he was blind, he could not protect her. The helpless man broke down in tears as he watched his wife being hurt. After the men left, he took his wife back home. The next day, Yang He went to the boss's room again to take revenge for the humiliation she had suffered. She confronted the boss and demanded to know what crime she had committed. After threatening him once more, she left the room. That very night, the boss decided that it would be better if she were not left alive. For that reason, he once again sent men to end her life. However, when those men arrived, they saw that Yang He was already dead. They saw Yang Wu carrying her body toward the forest. He left the body there and returned. Yang Wu believed that no one had seen him that day. Later, the boss's men dug a pit in the forest and buried Yang He's body there. The boss then tells them that Yang Wu had been the one who ended his wife Yang He's life. He even says that Yang Wu should be grateful to him because, due to his influence, the police had never arrested him all these years. After hearing everything, Lim Dong cannot control himself. He cannot tolerate such a serious accusation against his simple and kind father. In anger, he grabs the boss by the collar and shouts that he should stop lying, insisting that the boss himself was responsible. Sujin stops Lim Dong and tells him he cannot act like this. Lim Dong becomes even angrier. He takes the spy camera out of Sujin's bag and asks her why she brought such a camera if her intentions were truly good. After saying all this, he returns home in distress. Later that night, when Yang Wu comes home, Lim Dong tells his father that he met a man named Jusang. Then he asks his father directly if he had ended his mother's life. Yang Wu becomes silent for a moment. After some time, he begins speaking. He says that life was extremely difficult back then. Since childhood, people had mocked him for being blind. They bullied him constantly. Many times he was hurt by others, but he could never even know who was responsible. Slowly, by working without even eating properly and saving money, he learned how to make stamps. His dream was to save enough money to open a small shop one day. Jusang had allowed him to set up his work in front of the factory, but no one came to buy stamps from him. One day, Lim Dong's mother came to him. That was the first time he heard the name Yang He. He gave her a stamp as a gift and she was very happy. From that day onward, Yang He would bring him food. He had never received that kind of attention from anyone before. No one had ever cared about him that much. Whenever she brought him food, the shopkeepers nearby would tell him how beautiful she looked. They even advised him not to lose such a wonderful woman, otherwise someone else might marry her and take her away. Thinking about all this, one day he finally proposed to her. And Yang He accepted his proposal. Soon after, we got married. That day, it felt like my first dream had come true. I wanted to give Yang He a beautiful life. Then you came into our lives. After you were born, even with both of us earning money, it became difficult to manage everything. Still, we both tried our best to give you a good life. Even after going through so much hardship, your mother continued working at the factory. But I always had one regret. I had never been able to see your mother. The woman I loved was said to be so beautiful that people admired her constantly, yet I could never see her beauty. Then one day, a friend from my village came to visit the city. One night he came to my house for dinner. He could hardly believe that someone loved me and had married me out of love. I praised Yang He and told him that I had never seen her face, and that was my misfortune. I would never be able to see my beautiful wife. He mocked me and said that it was actually better that I had never seen Young-hee. I asked him why he would say something like that. He replied that I was fortunate not to be able to see, because my wife looked very unpleasant. After hearing that, I began to notice things more carefully. I started to understand why people teased me and laughed behind my back. The whispers that I once believed were about my wife's beauty suddenly became clear to me. I realized that they were actually laughing at me because of my wife's appearance. Since childhood, I had faced this kind of treatment. People often made me the target of jokes and treated me badly for no reason. In order to move past all of that, I worked hard and slowly learned the craft of making stamps so that people would recognize me for the beauty of my work. But after marrying Young-hee, I had to face the same kind of situation again. The very thing I had tried to leave behind in my life seemed to return after our marriage. In society, people admire beauty. Beautiful things attract and impress everyone. But anything considered unpleasant is quickly rejected by people. Even though I could not see, I began to understand everything. I only wanted to live quietly, hiding myself from the world. But when she argued with Ju Sang, everything became even more difficult. I tried to stop her, but she did not listen to me. From that moment on, I began to pray to God for only one thing, that Young-hee would die. I wished that someone would take her life on my behalf. The day Ju Sang's men beat her severely, I even prayed silently that she would not survive. Yet despite being hurt so badly, she remained alive. And after surviving, she again wanted to confront Ju Sang. I had never imagined that I would end up taking her life myself. I asked her why she had gone to speak with the boss again and why she had made everything more difficult. Young-hee replied that she had done nothing wrong. She said that since childhood people had blamed her simply for being born the way she was and for her appearance. She told me that she was grateful to me because I had never seen her face. Despite her appearance, I had married her, loved her, and given her a reason to live. I had made her feel special. Hearing all of this made me extremely angry. I could not control myself. The very thing I had tried to escape since childhood had become permanently tied to my life. Thinking about all of this, I lost control and took her life by choking her. While I was doing this, Young-hee tried to protect herself. She grabbed my hand with her nails, and that is how the mark appeared on my hand. At that moment, I realized that Young-hee was gone. I did not know what to do next. So I carried her body on my shoulder and left it in the forest. I believed that no one had seen what I had done. But that same day, when Ju Sang's men came to harm Young-hee, they saw me carrying my wife's body away. Later, they buried her body themselves. Otherwise, the blame for her death would have fallen on them. In the end, Yang-woo tells Lim Dong that he did all of this for him. He says he wanted to keep only good things in his son's life so that the cruelty of society would never touch him. After hearing everything, Lim Dong breaks down in tears. He cannot agree with his father at all. The father he had respected and loved so much turned out to be responsible for his mother's death, and he cannot accept that. In anger and pain, he even calls his father a killer before leaving. Yang-woo is left completely alone and begins to regret his actions. Meanwhile, Lim Dong waits for Soo-jin at a restaurant. Soo-jin notices that Lim Dong has brought the recorder with him. Lim Dong tells her that he has deleted some parts of the conversation. He also reminds her that his father has a respected reputation. Soo-jin understands that Lim Dong has forgiven his father, which is why he deleted the most important part of the recording. Feeling hurt, Soo-jin says that Lim Dong is exactly like his father, and today she can see that even more clearly. After he left the previous day, she had spoken with Ju Sang a little longer. She asked him why he had never taken any photographs of Young-hee. Ju Sang told her that when Young-hee first joined the company, they had taken one photograph of her. Soo-jin gives that photograph to Lim Dong and says that it is a picture of his mother. Whether he chooses to look at it or not is his decision. Lim Dong slowly takes the photograph out of the envelope and stares at it. Within moments, he breaks down in tears. The woman whom society had called ugly is his own mother, the woman who gave him life. To Lim Dong, that photograph is the picture of the most beautiful person in the world. Looking at it, he cannot stop crying. And this is where the story comes to an end. This story clearly shows the difference between ugliness and beauty. The woman whom society called ugly was the same woman who never stopped standing up against injustice, even in front of a powerful boss. Even after receiving many threats, she continued to speak out against wrongdoing. And despite being insulted repeatedly, she kept loving her husband and her son and continued dreaming about a better life for them. Even when someone has beauty within their heart, society often judges people only by their outward appearance and decides who is beautiful and who is not. So friends, this was today's story. Let me know how you liked it. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and share. I will see you in the next story.